I'm Tania Rogers, and you're listening to Mindful Hustler, the podcast helping entrepreneurs get out of their heads and onto building their dreams. Together, we're building businesses while balancing minds. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Hustler. Today, I have a very special guest joining us, the Holistic Doula. Now, Chey is the CEO of Butta The Holistic Doula, an incredible business centered on supporting people through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum with a holistic approach. Not only is Chey an amazing entrepreneur, but she is also a mother balancing motherhood, babies, and business. Today, we're diving into how she does it all, how she stays true to her vision, and how she does that gracefully. Chey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. We might have to take out that graceful word because I can't tell you. Never been an adjective used for me.
Well, honestly, you look effortlessly, like you do everything effortlessly. You look like you're just meant for this. Whenever I see you, you're always, the baby's in the background, you're educating, you're inspiring, and you're just balancing it all.
I mean, I do feel like it all goes hand in hand. I think it looks so effortless because it's just like this is my life and this is my life and so many other people's lives that we're going to miss some of the details. You're not going to see, I mean, yeah, the baby's on my hip, but also like pulling my hair in the background. And so we're so used to seeing, I think, to like images of just like professional business women just looking very structured. And so when you are amongst women that look a little bit more like you miss some of those details. It just looks like that's nice. And so I think that
That's a
that
good
is
point.
definitely what I give off.
Yeah. Well, this conversation is very timely. I was telling my husband before we started filming that I just can't wait to just sit down and to just talk to someone who gets it. Like today, I'm so exhausted. I had sessions, I'm doing things for, the business. And, at first filming this, the thought of filming this while I'm exhausted made me really nervous because I'm like, I can't be on my P's and Q's. Like I'm forgetting what I want to say and do. And then honestly, I was like, you know what? This is going to be such a relief to actually sit down, like grab a cup of coffee and actually just chat. And so much of that stress went away. I'm still tired, but I'm really excited to dive in with you.
Absolutely. P's and Q's, who needs them, right? This is a very real conversation, and I appreciate you once again having me here to have the conversation about, you know, all of the mama things, all the mompreneur things, because we all have something that we want to do in our lives as professionals. And then how do you balance the two? It can seem like it's an overwhelming thought and task. Again, it does not have to look any one way, not at all.
So I want to start from the very beginning. So growing up or in your earliest years, did you see doulas around you, or how were you first introduced to this concept?
Yeah, so I did not see doulas around me, but what I did see around me and I always appreciated was community. I've always been in, a tight-knit community in one way or another. I was born here in New Jersey and I come from a big family, and a family get together was like all the kids running around. You don't know whose kid is who, you're just grabbing one, right? Like you grab one, you hug it, you kiss it, you make sure they're good. There's always somebody there for that child and then there for one another. My paternal grandmother, she had 9 siblings. And so I had lots of aunties. Okay. So I grew up around lots of aunties. And then on my maternal side, I have a lot of cousins. And so we always kind of just had that community feel. And then growing up in St. Croix, because we moved there later in my life, growing up in St. Croix, it's all community. We moved from New Jersey to an island that we didn't know much about. And right away, the neighbors are over. You know, we're growing up together, like those children that were in the neighborhood and running around barefoot in the cul-de-sac. Those are my besties today that I can call up and be like, hey girl, do you know what happened to me? So I appreciated always having somebody there. And then to come back here to be an adult, I didn't see a lot of that. And I was like, we need more of that. And so my journey into being a doula didn't even come from just like, oh, I want to, help women in pregnancy and labor. It came from, I want to help women. And a time that was really rough for women, and something that I did see was pregnancy, labor, postpartum. Like, these are hard times. And so that was kind of my like my window peek into my future. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're great with kids and you're great with just like speaking and being around adults and things like that." Like, cuz I'm the child that's like, "Give me the baby. I'll hold, let me hold the baby." Everybody thought I would be a teacher, and I am, but kind of in a different way. And so I appreciate the steps that led me to this journey. But I definitely had no clue what a doula was prior to thinking I invented something, and then later finding out that I did not.
So what was that moment where you were introduced to it?
Yeah, so the moment was actually, this was maybe 2016, 2017. So I know we've shared in personal conversation. My first birth experience was a decent experience. I even to this day still get a little guilt and scent. Like, I didn't have a terrible experience at all. But there were just parts of that experience that I did not feel in control of, that I did not feel part of. It just felt like it was something that happened to me. And so I felt like I was robbed of something, because while I had a healthy pregnancy, healthy baby, somewhat healthy postpartum life, I just felt like there was something missing. I was robbed of something. I didn't know enough. There was nobody really there who had those real conversations with me. And so I started having those conversations with those around me, having babies, just because I was one of the first. So everybody after was coming, "Hey, Shay, like, what was that experience like?" And I'm like, "Girl, let me tell you, like, here are the things I learned. Here are the things I thought I knew." And that just became what I was doing. I was just reaching out to women and talking to them and connecting with them and being in the community, connecting with other young moms. And I classified it as life coaching. So I went to school to be a life coach. And so I'm in school and I'm doing this life coaching and I'm enjoying my studies. And I still do. I appreciate that time period. But I'm sitting down after some homework, like decompressing, watching Black and Crew. There was a girl on the show, and she was like new from Cali, long locks, like tatted from head to toe, like this very just like wow, like it girl. And she was pregnant, and she was very holistic as well. So Melody, I'll never forget her character on the show. And so she brought like a new look to the show, and she brought new awareness to the show. And so when she was pregnant and the show followed her pregnancy, she pointed out that she had a doula. And so we see the doula massaging her, moving with her, and I was like, "My goodness,
Mm.
that's a thing. I want to do that." And I immediately took my little library card. I went right down to the library and I told the librarian, like, "I'm gonna be a doula. So all of the books that you have on doula, like, I need I need all of them." She's like, "Okay, I don't know what that is, but you could check our database." And sure enough, I pulled out maybe like 10 books, and I spent weeks just reading and reading on becoming a doula. And then I was like, "Yeah, this is definitely it for me." Reached out to a mentor, and the rest is history.
You said that was in 2016, and the librarian wasn't sure what a doula was back then, and that's not even that long ago.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the term doula has just become mainstream, at least in my experience. I don't know if you heard it in your community sooner, but when I would tell people I was a doula, and it still happens every once in a while, when I would tell people I was a doula, they'll be like, "Ah, so what's that?"
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think I just stopped having to explain myself maybe in the past, like, 4 years. So I would say, yeah, like 2020, 2019, people may have known what a doula was, but beyond that, and I was just some woo-woo, like, weird lady obsessed with babies and women and children, but,
Yeah.
it caught on.
I think that, like, as a society, we went through this whole shift of, like, awareness on mental and physical and emotional awareness, like, more recently. Support systems like that are now at the forefront and seen as really necessary because they are, but I don't think people really were aware just a few years ago.
I don't think so, and it's fortunate, but it's unfortunate. The term doula and, being a doula for one, it was one thing to be a doula, but when I was looking up doulas and looking at doulas in the area, they were not doulas that looked like me, okay? They were not in the areas that I wanted to serve. They were not in the communities that I wanted to serve, and so much so that when I reached out and I was like, "I wanna do what you're doing," I got no answers back in these emails while I was looking for a mentor. There was one
Wow.
doula of color. There was one Black doula, Kelly, my mentor, who I love and appreciate to this day. She's amazing. I reached out to her, and she was the only one who reached back out to me. And so when I started, Kelly was the only Black doula that I knew in the area, and it may have taken maybe 2 years more for me to meet another Black doula aside from Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And we spoke previously about this specific story, but you said something that was really like touching when you reached out to her. What was it that she said to you?
She said, "I have prayed for you." She said she had prayed for a doula to come, a mentee to come and help her with the work that she was trying to do. And she was like, "You are an answered prayer. Like, this is exactly what I wanted." So much so, I emailed her on a Tuesday. She was at my house on Friday. I was in her car, and we were at a teen mom home. And the first client that I served to was a young Black girl from Nigeria. So it just, for me, really, it was like a full circle moment to be able to offer this support to, one, find a doula of color, two, be able to be embraced by her, because we know how certain professions, and sometimes even when we're amongst our own, we're a little leery about how we're going to be received, right? I was received with open arms, and the mom, we connected right away.
Mhm.
And that is still to this day, if she texts me, I'm texting right back. If I text her, we're texting right back. So that was my first doula baby and my first doula relationship, and it really set the precedent for who I wanted to serve in this work.
Now, how did you have that confidence of I have this idea, and then when you could put like a name to it, a verbiage to it, you immediately acted on this is what I'm going to do as a career or provide service? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with believing their idea could be something, especially a lucrative venture. How
Yeah.
did you believe in that for yourself?
I'm just going to say God. For one, I have always been a person who, good, bad, indifferent. I'm a person, when I have an idea in my head, I have to at least like take a step in that direction. And I fully trust that taking the step, either one or two things is going to happen. There's going to be another step provided, or I'm going to be knocked all the way back and into a different direction. And with doula work, it just was so easy. You say effortlessly, you think I do this? Effortlessly was the journey into becoming a doula. It was like, okay, I reached out to Kelly. All right, now I have to secure my first birth. How is that going to happen? Next, I got my first birth, just like that, because this doula connected with me, and this mama connected with me, and she wanted me there, right? And then offering my services and not knowing, and being in a community, people were looking for me, and so it was just that each step was kind of paved for me, and each experience gave me the drive to keep going forward. But I do know, and I fully resonate with just having the courage to set out on an idea and think that it's going to be a thing. It's like, because I hit a wall a few times. There were a few experiences as a doula that I was like, this is a terrible experience. I had imposter syndrome for a few experiences. There were times where I felt like, did I do this right? But one thing I've learned in this work, when you're doing work from the heart, you can't get it wrong.
Actually, what I was going to ask you next is like, how do you handle, because you do such serious work, like you are ushering new life into the world and you're supporting people at a time where they're their most vulnerable. How do you handle imposter syndrome and the fears that come along with doing the type of work that you do? How do you have that confidence?
I am big on just being present, and I never want anybody to see me sweat, so to speak, but I also don't mind sitting in my discomfort a little bit, right? Because if I have a question and I don't know something as a doula, and it's in front of my client who thinks their doula has it all figured out, I'm going to ask that question because, my client wants to know. We want better understanding of this and why this is happening and what is the outcome that I'm going to expand the conversation in that moment, just because I feel like if I have questions, my client must too. And if anything, no shade to professionals, but I have also sat in circles with professionals that they're not even too sure what they're doing. And I'm just like, okay, if you're brave enough, in doctors, if you're brave enough to have somebody's life in the palm of your hand, right? And you still set out in that confidence to move forward and to figure it out along the way. As a doula, I can figure it out on the way because it's mostly education. right? I just have to ask a question. There's like nothing that's literally in the palm of my hands the same way. And if I'm ever uncertain about something, unsure about something, I am going to make it known and we're going to figure it out together. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I led them astray. And this is why I also create relationships with my clients because you're going to get to know me. I'm going to get to know you. You're going to know my face when I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm like, Shay don't know. She does not know that. Let's ask for Shay's sake. But I think it's very important to also be amongst communities where you feel comfortable, right? And that takes some of the weight off of like that imposter syndrome or that fear of messing up. Because sitting here talking to you, I'm talking to my sister, right? I'm
Mhm.
talking to, this is family, this is a connection. And I often say too, just as much as my clients pick me, I pick them. And so if any part of me feels like there's something here that's not going to work, I am going to refer you to the best possible person. And it's just not me. I'm a great doula. I'm a wonderful doula. I give myself pats on the back all the time, but I'm not a wonderful and great doula for everybody. There's a
Mm.
certain person that I seem to resonate with. And those are the ones that I want to, I want to build connections with. I never want them to feel like I have put on a facade or am pretending to be something that I'm not.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point because it really speaks to you knowing your worth and knowing if there's not a mutual connection, not taking it so personally and just understanding like I just might not be for you, you're not for me, and that's okay.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely okay. It's, why create that strain in a relationship of trying to live up to a standard that you may not even be sure of because you and that client have not even broken that boundary and that seal of knowing, exactly what they want. This woman is in a vulnerable space and place. Nobody wants to step into that being in the same place. I want to be able to step here knowing that I can help you, that I can guide you. If you can't figure it out and you're having a hard time and I can't figure it out and having a hard time, we're going to have to find you somebody who can do even better work than I can or just, be on your same wavelength. So,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I say this for all doulas and professionals starting up. All money is not good money. You do not have to take on every client that you meet and see. And it's okay to say no sometimes. That is just fine.
Absolutely. I remember my cousin said to me one time, a long time ago when I was interviewing with some company, she said to me, "You need to interview them as well." So they're asking you questions, you need to ask them questions because you also have power. It's not just this one-way street. So you need to vet them just as much as they vet you.
Yes, I say the
Yeah.
same. Same for doctors, same for providers, vet your providers, vet your doctors, your hospital, all of that. If you don't feel this level of comfort and you feel like you can trust this person beyond the fact that, oh, they're a professional, they should know exactly what's needed. There's somebody else for you to connect.
Yeah. So I want to get into your holistic approach. Why did you choose to be a holistic doula
Yeah.
versus another form of dualism?
Right. So my upbringing and my background, I've always been very connected with nature. I've always been very self aware and I've just appreciated, my community, the surroundings thereof, and not just, people, but energy and trees and plants and all of that good stuff. And if there's one thing that I also learned with growing up in St. Croix, is like, we are capable of a lot more than we realize. On the island, we have one hospital. That hospital is not for anything serious. That hospital is for if you stubbed your pinky toe. Like they're very laid back. And if we can build a whole community, if we have a whole island of people who just trust nature and trust life and wake up each day and it's like, yeah, God's gonna guide me, God's gonna guide me, like I got this. Why do we feel that we have to constantly run to somebody who knows more than us about us, right? And so my main goal with becoming a holistic doula was I wanted women to understand and see, and not just women, but families, everybody. I wanted us to be able to see how capable we really are and to trust it because I feel like there becomes that, I call it like the superwoman moment. There becomes a moment in labor where it's like, no, like I can't do this. This is madness, right? And then you do it and you're like, well, excuse me, right? Like something in me just knew something. And I think about you often, my very fast laborer mama, because where that communication comes in. Had you not said, I'm gonna just head on out, because it's not terrible, but you trusted your body, you trusted your instincts and your intuition, and you had a baby in 2.5 seconds on two
With
occasions.
You honestly, I'm so thankful for you because I did want to labor at home as long as possible, but I didn't know that that was an option for me. And it's funny, like when I talk to other people now, some friends that are just recently had babies or pregnant, I always tell that story of, my doula taught me how to, taught me the signs, and it's okay. You can labor at home as long as possible, and then you can go to the hospital. You don't have to run right away. And that really helped me have a great experience.
Yeah, and that's all I want and wanted even coming into this work. I just wanted women to know that they could do this. I just wanted partners to be aware that they can support their partner through this. Like, there's no reason to be afraid of something that we are just kind of meant to do. And if you need help, you need help. We go and we get the help. But at least giving yourself the opportunity to try, because you will impress yourself by what you can do. I feel like once you do that, there's one thing when you become a mother, like nobody can tell you anything, right? Because you're like, look what I
Mhm.
did. Look at I brought life into this world. I'm holding it together. I'm doing this, that, and the other. But when you had a hand in how you brought life into this world, when you were able to be fully autonomously, yourself in this experience and be present, who's going to be able to tell you anything about your spirit, about your physical abilities, about your nature? No one. So I feel like everybody should be able to witness and have the experience of just like trusting themselves to get themselves through whatever experience it is. But labor is like one of the most high, experiences to experience.
Now, why is it so important for women of color, especially, to have advocacy when giving birth?
Well, it's been an unfortunate circumstance that women of color, if we want to predate it, if we want to go all the way back before the times of modern medicine, right, for one, we were taught not to trust our bodies. We were taught that something was wrong with us, that we were weird and freaks of nature. We were taught that we didn't feel pain. We were taught that, we're just like this uncertain anomaly. And that had nothing to do with us. That had everything to do with them. That had everything to do with those who did not know how to handle a Black woman, in terms of caring for, in terms of helping, in terms of just being there to support. And so it's like, so they make things look easy, right? They don't really feel pain. They're different. They're this, they're that. And so that stamp was on us, is on us. And it is still in modern medicine a belief that a lot of providers and people have, that the Black woman just has this high tolerance for pain. And sometimes we even believe it for ourselves, like, oh, yeah, we have a high pain tolerance. I'll be fine in labor. And I talk about this when sitting with my clients. It's not about pain tolerance. And it's all about just the mental capacity and the understanding that if you need help, you get help, right? If you are experiencing something, it's okay to say you're experiencing something. You do not win an award for sitting there suffering with a straight face. You are feeling pain just the same way everybody else feels pain. And you should be observed, you should be cared for, you should be loved on, you should be supported through this. And so we have this moniker of just being this strong Black woman, right? This strong woman of color. And unfortunately, our numbers in terms of maternal deaths, in terms of fetal deaths amongst Black and brown women, they're ridiculously high, especially here in the state of New Jersey. And one of the number one reasons for it is not going back to the hospital, right? Not wanting to be the one to say, I'm experiencing this or I'm noticing this. How many times in life, for one, have we looked at something and be like, that's okay, right? I don't want to be a bother to anybody. I don't want to, I'll figure it out. It's okay. But when we're in the state of labor, postpartum life, it's no, I figure it out. There's no reason for that. You have support, you have a team. And so the advocacy piece comes in because I want to make sure that you make sure that you speak to somebody. It doesn't have to be the doctor in the white coat that made you a little uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be, the social worker that was walking the halls and heard the baby screaming and you were like, nope, we're good here, right? It can be somebody who, somebody who cares for you, somebody who looks like you. And so advocacy is like the top hat of the doula. That is what we're there for. If your doula is not advocating for you and making sure that your questions are answered, that you feel heard, that you feel seen, you got to throw that doula out. But
Yeah.
this is the work. This is the responsibility.
Yeah, I find that I do that a lot, to be honest. Like, it's hard for me to ask for help. And I know, like you said, like a lot of other women of color, it's hard for us to ask for help. It's not natural sometimes because of what society puts on us, like our persona of, oh, you got it, you got it. But I also think that we feed into that as well. I'll speak for myself. Even today, I was telling you, I was exhausted and it's so hard to balance everything. And I could ask for more help and delegate more things, to my family, to my husband, but I'm just so used to carrying things.
Yeah, bear it all.
And you got to know when to ask for help. You got to advocate for yourself.
Right, and that's the rule. Where if you feel like you can't do it, we're to do it for you. Your doula's to do it for you. But I mean, you're not alone in that thought process and all of that. I'm a doula and I'm an advocate. Sometimes I forget to advocate for myself. And this is the line of work. This is my day to day. But it's just, there is something that has been kind of embedded in us that we're a bother. We're not meeting expectations or we're not reaching the goals that we have set for ourselves. And we often use like the terms of like we set high bar, like we set a high bar, we have high expectations. And if you don't have high expectations, what do you have? But the fact of the matter is you can have all of that and still have help to get there. And you can even reach newer heights with having help to get there. And so there's no reason for us to be doing this, one on one just by ourselves trying to figure it all out. There's definitely in every other culture in the world, in all of the other places except for the US, women of color we're a community. We work together. We do things together. We're well aware of what's happening. And it's not even that you have to have a medical professional title or a professional title. There's just some things that you learn from auntie that you're teaching to cousin that you create and you foster this community that you guys are there for one another. And that's something that we have departed from with coming here to the US and growing up here in the US, that everything is everything is by yourself. Success is only success if you achieved it on your own, built something brick by brick. But that's tiring and that's old news. And we do not need to accept that.
It's like communism versus individualism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or collectivism, I think, versus
Mhm.
individualism. Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about time management. So how do you balance babies and business? So for like the wellness mamas out there who want to start a business, but maybe they have 50, 11 kids and two jobs, and they're like, where do I even find the time to do it?
Nope,
Where do you
that's
find the
me.
time?
That was me, 50, 11 kids. That's what my family would say, like, "How many kids are you on now?" It's 3 for the record, it's just 3, and stay in there. But taking your time, trusting the process. Again, back to that building brick by brick and thinking that we have to achieve this much to be seen or to be recognized. Like, it's not about recognition from anybody else but yourself, and you be very realistic with yourself. Let this journey be an internal one, let it be a quiet one, let it be something that you want to do for yourself. Because I also feel like sometimes when we tell people all of our plans, right? They say move in silence, but sometimes when we tell all of our plans to specific people and people we know we're not going to ask for help, now in our minds, we have to meet. I told, Joan that I was going to be in my master's program by fall, and now I have to wait until winter. Oh, it's so embarrassing. Or caring too much about, again, the pressures that are sometimes not even they're usually self-inflicted, to be honest. Take your time. When I began my journey as a doula, I was on a budget. My husband and I had just gotten our own place. I was slow to drive here in the States. I was scared of these roads. So like I had just gotten my license. I'm to clients. So I'm not quite driving because I'm not driving on the highway. So they gotta be local, right? Trying to figure it out. It all clearly worked out in the end. But I started very slow and I recommend that for everybody. Take your time. Before I was full-time doula, I was a part-time doula. Before I had my certification in being a doula, I was working on the side, learning, being mentored. So you make time in those small increments for what you can afford to do at that time. Nobody's saying neglect the family or run off, to focus on a study. You can take your time and build yourself into it. And another beautiful thing, and I always say this to my mentees, like a beautiful thing about taking your time is like when you get to where you wanted to be, you have learned so much about yourself. You have such a confidence. Like there's nobody that can tell you you don't know what you know, right? There's nobody that could tell you that you're a newbie, that you kind of just fast tracked your way. Like you have created your own establishment really brick by brick, however long it takes, and you've enjoyed the journey. And I think that's the most important thing. Like focus on enjoying the journey more than just like the end result. Because if it's a journey, it's gonna keep going. It kind of goes on forever. So there's always work to do. I say this as a doula, I'm always learning. I've been doing this for 8 years, but I'm always learning, and I'm always taking a class and I'm always meeting another person and I'm always asking questions and I'm enjoying it on top of all of that. And I think that's more important than anything else is just like enjoy your journey. If at any point this feels like it's taking the life out of you, it should not feel like that. This should be something you love and you're enjoying, even if it's like a little torture. When you work out and you're like, oh, this hurts so good. That's what the journey should feel like. Like, oh, this hurts. Like, ouch. Like, I had a hard moment, but so good because I know what this is going to look like in the next few weeks. And then be realistic. I'm a big advocate for that as well. I would say in the last 2 years, I have become more realistic with myself, my energy levels. I don't know, something when you hit those mid 30s, you're like, it's very tiresome. But just understanding what feels good for you, right? Before, I would fit as many clients as I could in my day. And that would be about 4 clients on average. I could see 4 clients in a day. And that means going from one to the next, maybe grabbing a coffee in between, maybe eating on the road and getting indigestion. Had to change of clothes in the car because I probably would have to change because I done do something on myself trying to drive to the next destination. In the past 2 years, I have cut it down to I see 2 clients in a day. And I don't care if it's a long day, a short day. I don't care if I feel great or I feel 2 clients feels perfect. I can manage 2 clients. And I have more energy afterwards, great. I can go play in the garden or I can do work on my computer for, my clients, but I'm not pushing myself to see 4 clients. 4 clients can still be seen in a week's time. There's no reason that I have to see all of them in one day. So just again, being realistic and fitting in those like pockets of joy for you. And so it's gardening. After I see a client, I go out in the garden, I play for a
Yeah.
little bit, I run out with the kids for a little bit, I get a coffee that I can enjoy and not spill on myself. Take your time.
It's so important to make that a priority too. I think we like, well, I'll speak for myself. I know early on when I was first starting out as a therapist, I would try to cram clients in, like what you were saying too, but I would not be showing up as my best self. And it was like, okay, well then what's the point? Like I'm risking my business and my reputation just to see
Right.
more. Like it doesn't make any sense. And when I started fitting in time for rest and time for rejuvenation, not because I just have spare time because someone canceled, but because I actively and intentionally fit that time in, that's when I really started enjoying things a lot more. So I feel that a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. Yes, your best self. I mean, you can show up at 50%, like battery at 50%, right? But if you could show up at 100, that's what we want to do. And I agree 100% with how that reflects on your business. I never want a client also to feel like I didn't have time for them, that I rushed them through a process. I mean, that would make me no better than the medical system and the urgent cares and the provider that they probably wanted to meet with me to complain about didn't see them for enough time today, right? So I agree 100% with that. You want to take your time. And that's where those pockets of joy fit into, right? Because if you had a good day, you saw your client between clients, you went to the gym or you went for a walk. When you see your next client, they're looking at you and they're like, oh, it's so nice to see you, right? They might have been going through something, but to see you and to have somebody come into their space that has a calm demeanor. I mean, you have. Speaking of effortless, mama, that is you. But, just being able to really enjoy each other's energy and spend the time that is allotted to spend, I think is important.
How do you stay inspired and creative in your business when you're tired and you're trying to balance everything, the kids, the business, everything? Because I find like when I'm tired, it's really hard for me to be creative. But I also, when I get this burst of creative energy, I get kind of obsessive and I can just go and go and go and go and like tunnel vision. And then my husband will be like, hello, like the kids have to eat, like we got to do stuff.
Tomorrow, feed them tomorrow.
So I lock in, but then I get burnt out. And it's like, what is that balance? How do you stay creative when you're tired?
No, I do what you do.
Oh man, there's no silver bullet.
No, I definitely feel like in terms of that, it's just there's times for everything. And so, as feminine individual who observes my moon cycles and all, like I know my ebbs and flows of energy within the month, within the week. And so in those times that are my higher energy self, I know that I will be a little bit more creative. I can put my brain and my mind to something a little bit more. And so in those tunnel vision moments, it's just like at some point I want to do this, right? I just put it to the side. I do want to keep working on this. I do want to keep working on this. And then it's more like I'm just adding to what I already created in that time period where I was like, sure, which is natural, by the way. That is usually how creativity is sparked. Creativity isn't something that's an everyday thing. That's how we get writer's block and, painter's block and all of those things. Creativity, especially for women, it comes usually like in our ovulation cycle, in our luteal phase. Like this is where we have just more energy, where we're feeling more vibrant, where we can let ourselves be a little bit more expressive. You having those spurts of energy here and there, that's not a bad thing. Enjoy those spurts of energy because you have to have that to also have those crash times and vice versa. Use it when it comes to you.
Yeah, I think I used to think that everything just had to be so balanced. I'm a yogi and I fed that to myself. But I think the older I get, the more I realize like there's no such thing as like actual balance. Like sometimes something is gonna have to tip, like to move forward, right? And then maybe the balance is after you feel that, then you go the other way a little bit to balance it out. But nothing is ever really like 50-50 always. Like it just doesn't feel realistic.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's the ebbs and the flows. It's the rhythm. We have to follow our rhythm.
So what has been your biggest struggle as a business owner and how have you overcome it?
Biggest struggle, I would say, I mean, I feel like I am in the overcoming stage now, but it was setting realistic time, having that balance of time. I would struggle with knowing that I'm gonna crash soon, right? And I'm trying to fit everything in before I crash, and then crashed and feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, I'm the
So
same way. I'm the same way. It's like you crash and then you beat yourself up because you're like, oh, I want to do this and this and that. And it's just like this vicious cycle.
mhm. Yeah. So that's what I have released in my time, I would say, is just falling into that cycle and just enjoying. I'm not crashing, I'm settling. And so I'm enjoying that settle down time a little bit more and I'm not allowing myself to feel guilty about it. So that took a long time.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that I could say has been my biggest accomplishment. And I also feel like it shows in my business ethic and just like my work ethic because I get to be realistic with my time and my clients. Hey, the client is like, Shay, can I meet you before 10 a.m.? No. Unless it's an absolute emergency, you must because you have no other day available, then no. I can meet you at 10 exactly. I can meet you at 10:05, but I know before 10 a.m., I'm just not, I'm usually trying to get my life together. By then, I'm dropping the kids off, I'm running from the gym, I'm trying to fit a little bit of me in there so that I don't feel guilty later in the day when I had my quiet time. So I have become better at time management and, I don't beat myself up as much when I do need those moments. Look, I love a nap. At certain time,
Yeah.
everybody knows 4:30-ish, that's nap time.
Mhm.
So, just being realistic and appreciating myself for who I am.
Yeah, I think 10 a.m. is my sweet spot too. I only see clients after 10 a.m. I need my time to show up as my best self. So I'm right along there with you.
Yes.
What is the best piece of advice anyone's ever shared with you in terms of entrepreneurship? Or actually just in life. I'll make it broader, just in life.
Yeah, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, so my dad's mom, I don't remember what I was doing because I have a little bit of social anxiety. I know it sounds weird, and my grandmother, she suffered the same. She suffers anxiety, and she told me straight up, she's like, Shay, don't let anybody jam you up. She's like, if something feels uncomfortable, you can say no. Like, and don't be, again, back to the guilt. Don't feel guilty about like, don't put anybody in the position to make you uncomfortable in the sense of if I already know that I am not going to like this, why keep extending myself in that direction to only result in, knew I wasn't gonna, I knew this was a bad idea. So she's like, once you get that inkling, once it's like, don't let anybody have control over your experience in that way. If you are not comfortable with something, if something is not working for you, I think that's what it was. I think it was like there was a deadline on something that a person wanted, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this deadline. Like, I hate deadlines so much, which I really do. And she's like, no, she's like, you, before even trying to reach that deadline, just text them and say, I don't think I'm going to reach that. Here is a more realistic, like, just don't let people jam you up. And that is something that I tell myself often. The minute I feel that just like twinge, like, ooh, I feel the anxiety kicking up, I'm like, okay, let's take a moment to sit and really think about what is being asked of me and think about what is the best way that I know I will accomplish it. And then we can talk about that. And this also helps me to show up as my authentic self, to just be like, yeah, I can't do that, or it's going to have to go this way, versus trying to keep up and put up again that facade that I'm capable. I'm probably not. So let's not.
Well, I know we're coming down to our final couple of minutes. I know you're a busy mama, and I don't want to take up all your time, but I just have two final questions for you. Actually, I'll make it one. I'll sum them both up.
Love it.
Why is entrepreneurship so important to you, and what does hustle mindfully mean to you?
Love it. So entrepreneurship is important for me because of just kind of what we were talking about, just that creative release, having the ability to have autonomy over your finances, over your business, over yourself, and being able to grow in something that you really want to grow in. I think entrepreneurs are some of the best people that I know. And there's just such a sense of self awareness and peace that comes with entrepreneurship. And not to say because it's not busy and it's not crazy, because it absolutely is, but it's just like when you have constantly gone over hurdles, you only get stronger. And sometimes we don't know that experience if we are kind of limited, we're limited in a cubicle or in a little box. And it's easy for us to get boxed off as just individuals, especially of women of color. It's easy for us to just like fit this notion of just whatever it is they put on us. Hustler is often what they put on us, right? Like, oh yeah, she makes it happen. She's a hustler. But like, what does that mean for you, and build on that? And so being a mindful hustler is exactly all of that. Being mindful of how you want to, again, back to all money isn't good money, being mindful of how you want to show up, being mindful of the things that you love to do, and building from there, and just building that being confident in that stuff.
Thank you so much, Shay. And where can people find you? What's the best place to find you and reach you?
Instagram. So I am on Instagram as or at Butta The Holistic Doula. So you can find me there. I'll answer right back. And all of my contact details are there too. My email, my website, my number. So if you're looking for me, I'm pretty easy to find.
And I'll definitely link that in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to me today. I absolutely love you. I know we will work together again for baby number 3. Not now, maybe sometime in the far future.
No rush, because it's gonna go by
But
fast. Take your time.
you will be one of the first people we call because our experience with you was magical. You are really like an angel on earth, seriously. You are so zen, you're so knowledgeable, you ride for your clients, you're so flexible, and I love you for it. So thank you so much. Thank you for what you do.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for trusting me to be part of your experience in more ways than one.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode and you don't want to miss another, make sure you subscribe. See you next time.